Hi, everybody. This is Steve from Adisa, and once again, this is ITAD in 15. I'm delighted to be joined today by Gabor David from M360 Diagnostics. Good morning, Gabor.
Good morning, Steve, and thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it, and I'm really happy to provide some information about myself and the whole company's insights from my view, because it's really a pleasure to discussing and meeting you again.
And thank you, sir, for joining us because we've worked together previously, and I'm going to sound like a sycophant, but I was really impressed with your technical knowledge and your view on the industry. For those people who may not be familiar with you and with M360 Diagnostics, just give us a quick intro, please.
Sure. So I just started to develop these kind of softwares like mobile phone erasure and diagnostic softwares way more than a decade now. And I have a very interesting experience, I would say, because I worked for different companies in those years. And for example, just when I work with my new colleagues, it's pretty funny because I tell the stories when back then I had to do data migration from Windows phones to Blackberries, which is comparing to that, now it's an easy game. So that's it.
And this is the point. You've been doing this for a long time, so you're not new to smartphone diagnostics or sanitization, and there's a depth of knowledge and understanding there, which is phenomenal. Um, what do you think have been the challenges in this space, the diagnostics and sanitization space, over the last few years in terms of technology development?
Yeah, so I have to split those questions a little bit because, first of all, from the technology perspective, I would say in the mobile industry, which I'm very familiar with, it's not really the technical challenges that we have to face in the last few years. If you compare it, for example, for the traditional ITAD space, where the SSDs and the new kind of storages um, give up a little bit of a challenge. But for the mobile phones, surprisingly, it seems the data erasure is somehow easier because the OEMs are getting to the point where they figure out it's bad for everyone if they make our lives harder, or the whole industry lobby started to reach the point where it could not be ignored anymore. So that's a good thing. And because of this closing gap and the opening up of all the previous challenges. Now the whole point of making a differentiator, moving to a little bit from the technology to the other spaces like how you cover all of the devices and
Yeah.
what are the real interesting parts that you could do. And I would say now it's a little bit more hard to differentiate yourself in this industry because the gap is closing. So even for the phones, now I think it's a little bit of a challenge because I would say it was the purgatory and the last, I don't know, few years, because the innovation which we could see, I don't know, 10 years ago is getting slower.
Yeah.
So that's not really a good thing. But as I see now, the whole, I would say, focus is shifting a little bit from the traditional mobile phones to all of the other assets like hearables, wearables, and basically anything could be smart now. So I would say the biggest technology challenge is to cover all of these new upcoming devices and device categories. I would say, just as you said, we worked together because we created the first solution for the Apple Watches back then,
Yeah.
and you did the certification for that. And that was a real journey for both of us because that was absolutely an unknown territory. And I think the biggest challenge now is this, covering all the new product categories and trying to figure out how to either erase, diagnose, or certify them. So that's really the new thing that we have to face.
I'm going to go off piece from the questions we spoke about before we started because I said I would. I'd like to explore this because I 100% agree with you. I think smartphone sanitization when Android was still open source was more challenging, and I think over the last probably 10 years, if not shorter, maybe a little bit shorter, we've seen consistency in the effectiveness of some of the inbuilt functionality of smart devices, and that's across a broad range of vendors. Um, you're right, that space is pretty mature now. I'd certainly say the Western markets. We still see some products coming out from the Far East that are less mature and don't work as effectively. But typically, you're right, I agree with you. Let's explore IoT, wearable tech, because I agree. We're having massive problems certifying rings. We certified a vendor for smart rings because of the unique relationship between the host phone and the ring itself. We're looking at smart glasses at the moment as well, and of course the watches, which were a challenge for Apple because as they evolved, their functionality became slightly different in terms of connectivity. And so it was really quite challenging for us. And thank you in those early days for sharing your experience and knowledge with us to help us get going. Um, this is a complex space, I feel. Do you think that the industry as a whole and also their customers understand enough about sanitization to be able to protect themselves from a potential data issue?
I would say yes and no, because if you compare it, for example, 10 or 15 years ago, now the whole understanding is much better, both in this industry and just at the end user side.
Yeah,
But again, I think the biggest challenge still in the whole industry or the whole world is to educate the people, because I still think there is not really a common understanding the risks of the bad data sanitization or even to totally ditch it. So I think that's still the biggest challenge, and that's why I'm really appreciate these kind of videos, because I think the education is very, very important, not just in the industry, but for the end user space also. And while it's still getting better day to day, and I could really see that we are getting better, but still there is a lot of challenge to make them understand the whole value of this. And the other part is it's very important for all of us to make the people understand, because as I know, there is a lot of people still holding the devices in the wardrobes or anywhere because they're afraid some data could go out. And if they understand how these new, very, very thorough softwares able to erase every data, probably these devices get back into the market. And that's good for the environment, that's good for us, that's good for everyone.
yeah, I agree. And I think I've seen the industry, to pick up on your point, really come on. And I think there's lots of really positive stuff. I'm liking some of the initiatives about the industry coming together. I think it's really positive to actually start to get some collective momentum as a sector because the education for the customer is so important. And I think that there's a movement away from the industry understanding that we have one product for one type of media. That may not be the case in all situations. Some products offer a diverse range of media that they work with, but others don't. And I think that the industry appreciates that you need to have more capability to deal with more varied products, which is the point that you made earlier on about the wearable technology. And so this is getting complex, and we need to educate the customer. Um, what do you see? Let's talk the next stage of the evolution. What do you see coming around the corner in terms of solution-wise for the industry? Is the solutions going to need to get more sophisticated? What's your vision for the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because just as you mentioned, I think the direction is absolutely straightforward. Now the customers don't really want to get a mixture of different products to erase different type of devices. So I'm pretty sure that now the one for all will be the main rule. So you have to cover everything and you have
Yeah,
to do everything properly, because now we have a so sophisticated market, then you have to do everything, because if you miss out some kind of categories, then the other software will simply do that. So, and I think the next few years will be really tough, because now because the closing gap between the competitors. Now we could get only very small improvements with very big investments, and that could be a bad thing for us, but for the customers, I think that could be very, very good because the smoother device processing will be the result of this. So, and as the volumes are getting even bigger and bigger, every second counts. So I would say my vision is that because of the operators who are using our products are technically taking more time with our software than their families, we really owe them to make the product as good as possible and as easy to use. And that's not really just means that it's an industrial software. It now has to be much better than that. It has to be easy to use, don't hurt your eyes, and like this. So it's simply a thing that we have to make it a real end user product at the end.
It's funny, just to pick up on your point, must be easy on your eyes. One of the things when we test products is that we don't look at its user experience because we just look at its output. And you do see big variations in the user interface in terms of how simple and intuitive it is compared to some which are perhaps overtly complex. And I do think that as the industry matures, you're going to see much better user experiences because the users will give them positive or negative feedback, and nobody likes negative. Gabor, I'm just aware of the time. It's when we're recording this, it's just the beginning of June 2026. M360, are you out doing any events later this year? If people want to find you and they're at an event, which shows are you attending?
Yeah, definitely. So we already attended in a lot of trade shows this year, but we are now in a preparation to the ITC Malta next week. And then we will visit the Mobile Disrupt in Miami within a month. And we already booked our stand where we will be exhibitors of all of these. We will exhibit also in the European Broker Meeting in Portugal, I think in October. So these are the exhibition trade shows that we will visit, and also probably we will visit a lot more shows just the visitors, because of course we have to be there everywhere. So
Gabor, I'm going to say thank you very much for taking the time out today to speak with us. If anybody wants to really understand the details behind some of the wearable tech sanitization processes, go and find Gabor because he helped us out at the beginning when we tested Apple Watches a couple of years ago now, 3 years ago now. So if you're looking for an expert, this is the guy. Gabor, thank you very much indeed.
and thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll bump into each other soon. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your day.